Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A husband, father, grandfather killed overnight in an auto plant.
He would give you the shirt off his back.
Tonight, her best friend is gone, just as he was beginning to get his life back together. Right now, GM's Orion Assembly has closed as investigators work to get to the bottom of what really happened inside the plant.
The sheriff's office says 2 cleaning contractors got into a fight this morning around 1:30. Rod Maloney has been working this story all day for us. Rod, you spoke to the wife of the man who was killed.
So out here at the Orion Assembly plant, they have about 1,250 employees. They work on an early first shift, which means it starts at 6 a.m. and goes to about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But this incident between the cleaning crew happened a full 12 hours after production had stopped.
50-year-old male. This was thought to have CPR in progress.
About 1:30 this morning, Oakland County Sheriff's Office received the initial call for a man down inside the Orion Assembly plant. When officers got there, they found this man, 49-year-old Gregory Robertson, lying on the floor bleeding from the head. They attempted CPR, but they could not revive him. Robertson worked for a third-party cleaning crew, but they weren't working on bathrooms. They worked on robots and paint shops and the like. Greg's wife, Colette, has a family friend who worked with him. She called Colette, and Colette immediately rushed to the plant. She went into the security office and found out that her husband had died at the hospital.
I don't believe it. I'm just still in shock.
She told Local 4 Greg had worked the overnight shift at the Orion Assembly plant for the past 7 months, sometimes had minor issues with coworkers, but nothing like this.
Very good guy. He would give you the shirt off his back. I mean, he's had some problems, and who hasn't, you know? But for the most part, he was a good guy. He's done some bad things. He paid the price for it, and he's been home the last 2 years, and he's been doing such a good job.
Family does not have funds for a funeral. They've started a GoFundMe page. In the meantime, when sheriff's deputies got to the Orion Assembly plant, they discovered that there were only a handful of people on this crew, and one of the crew members was over by the loading dock. They arrested him. He is now in the Oakland County Jail. The expectation is he could be facing murder charges, and there may be an arraignment as of tomorrow morning. As for the plant, it sat idle today. They expect to reopen in the morning. Reporting live, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Okay, Rod, thanks.
Attorney General Merrick Garland provided a statement today, just days after the FBI raided Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. Former president has been very critical of the search, of course. Garland today says he personally approved the search.
The department does not take such a decision lightly. Where possible, it is standard practice to seek less intrusive means as an alternative to a search and to narrowly scope any search that is undertaken.
This week's search came after a subpoena the DOJ obtained based on the belief that former President Trump did not turn over all of his classified materials. We await word from the courts on when the warrant might be unsealed.
I'm Dr. Frank McGeorge. Today, the CDC officially updated its recommendations, loosening its coronavirus guidance. Now, the new guidelines put more responsibility on individuals to limit viral spread rather than using restrictions aimed at schools, businesses, and other institutions. Now, changes include schools and other institutions no longer need to routinely screen apparently healthy individuals. Also, unvaccinated people who are exposed to the virus no longer need to quarantine. This effectively means kids who are exposed can continue in person at school. Now, the guidelines indicate that exposed individuals, whether they're vaccinated or not, should wear a mask for 10 days and get a test at day 5. Now, much of the change is really based on acceptance of the practical reality of how things are already being managed, especially taking into account the lower fatality rate from current variants in a well-vaccinated population. Back to you.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. McGeorge, thank you. Now to brand new information we're learning into a hit-and-run crash involving a 6-year-old in Redford Township.
This happened last night near the intersection of Vassar and Brady, not too far from Grand River and Telegraph. Victor Williams live tonight from where that crash occurred, and you spoke, Victor, with the boy's mother.
Yes, that's right. I spoke with her over the phone. She was too heartbroken to go on camera, but sadly you can still see the skid marks here that show where exactly that little boy was hit and dragged right before the 2 people inside the car that hit him decided to run away from their responsibilities.
It's just very, very sad. I cried all last night. I just saw him 2 days ago because he asked, "Can the kids come out?"
6-year-old Chase Young is recovering in the hospital after being hit and dragged by a car while riding his bicycle Wednesday night around 8:45 p.m.
I've been praying and thinking about the family. They have my thoughts and prayers and my condolences, and hope they can make it through this really hard time.
Officers made it to the scene trying to help the little boy as much as possible before he was flown to the hospital nearby. Now, he's in critical condition.
I just feel so bad for the kid, and his whole life has changed now in like one instant. It just makes you realize like how fast life can change like that, and it's just awful.
The driver and passenger got out of the car and ran, leaving a 2012 blue Chevy Impala at the scene. Witnesses say that 2 people were seen running from the car after the crash. Both suspects were believed to have been wearing black shorts, one with the white tank top, the other with the red t-shirt.
I hope they catch these people. Or at least I hope they have the heart, to turn themselves in.
Redford police officers are now asking nearby residents with surveillance cameras to take another look at their footage for any clues that can lead to the identity of the 2 suspects that left the scene. This man says he's going to be ready just in case it happens again.
I'm going to get my security cameras updated so we get the next person. Got to slow down. You don't think about it till it's on you and you did something tragic like that. People need to think.
And as always, you can leave an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP if you do know those 2 men that were seen running from this vehicle. Victor Williams, Local 4.
Let's hope someone does. All right, Victor.
A federal judge declares a mistrial for the Flint water bellwether case. The trial involves 4 children who are suing 2 engineering companies for alleged negligence involved in the Flint water crisis. They say the children's injuries were caused from their exposure to lead in Flint's drinking water in 2014 and 2015. Jurors heard months of evidence but could not reach a verdict. Those firms are not part of the $626 million settlement involving Flint residents, the state of Michigan, and other parties. A rare invasive bug has been detected in Oakland County.
The Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development has confirmed the state's first detection of spotted lanternfly. They say a small population has been detected in Pontiac. Officials say spotted lanternfly have spread rapidly through the eastern part of the U.S., first detected back in 2014. They say spotted lanternfly moves very easily on firewood, on tires, in campers, but we don't exactly know how it got here. At least 3 people are dead after a home explodes in Evansville, Indiana. Look at this dramatic video that shows the moment that it occurred and just how powerful this blast was. You see tons of debris filling the streets. Rescue crews are going through the areas. The investigation into what may have caused it continues. Fire department, though, says dozens of nearby homes are damaged.
The 39 homes that have been damaged may be from wrecked and on fear of collapse to windows being blown out, and that's it. So there's some have minor damage, some have major damage.
So more than 3 dozen homes affected by this one explosion. Authorities say no signs of a gas leak, though they are not yet ruling that out.
Now to day 2 and the retrial for these 2 men charged with plotting to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And it was an undercover informant on the stand detailing his interactions with the so-called Wolverine Watchman. Sean Lay is live tonight. Sean, the defense really went after this witness.
And here's why, Kimberly. These are key government witnesses. You said an informant. There are many of them. This was one today. On the inside, the entire time this alleged plot was being formed. At the same time, it gives the defense a chance to constantly remind the jury that some of the informants are convicted felons. One was even kicked off the case. Prosecutors telling the jury today that FBI informants who were with members of the Wolverine Watchman wore wires and recorded more than 1,000 hours of conversations the group was having during the early days of the pandemic. Prosecutors say it would take months for the jury to hear most of those recordings, but played a recording of defendant Barry Croft telling a group of people who were extremely angry over government COVID lockdowns that politicians needed to be targeted with violence. He then said to the group, quote, "Whitmer, Whitmer, Whitmer." Federal prosecutors are trying Barry Croft and Adam Fox for a second time, and this is their time to present their case. However, attorneys for Fox and Croft questioned the informant about a fellow informant who was fired from the case by the FBI for misconduct. Two members of the group who pled guilty for their roles in the alleged plot, Ty Garbin and Caleb Franks, they've been brought from prison to Grand Rapids and are expected to again testify against Fox and Croft. Testimony is wrapped up for the afternoon. Starts bright and early again in Grand Rapids, 8:30 tomorrow morning. Guys, we'll be watching closely to see if those two men who pled guilty in the case are called right back to the witness stand in this trial yet again. Back to you.
And Sean, prosecutors continue to hammer home to the jury that they only need to prove a conspiracy here.
That's exactly right. Conspiracy means that everyone charged here came to an agreement that this is what they were going to do. They don't have to prove that they were so close to doing it. They just have to prove that this was a conspiracy. Everyone agreed to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Sean, thanks.
It's gone from bad to worse at a Detroit apartment complex.
New tonight, what some residents are dealing with after going days without running water. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. We have sunshine tonight. Very, very pleasant, with temperatures in the upper 70s now, but cooling down into the low 60s by midnight tonight. We'll talk about that weekend forecast in just a few minutes.
A whole lot of changes come to the iconic red brick road here in Corktown. It's going to cost a pretty penny. Coming up, what these changes are, what's going to be here in place, and how much it's going to cost.